Hey, Harford County. I'm Emily Adolph of The Soul Lift. You may remember me as a guest on Rich's podcast. Well, I'm back with something special.
And I'm Ona Crow. We're introducing Nourish and Connect, a gathering space designed to bring people together that feels authentic, supportive, and uplifting.
This is about real relationships, shared wisdom, and growth.
Our gatherings nourish with mindful experiences and reflective activities to leave you inspired.
And they're designed to connect with intentional conversations and welcoming community where you truly belong.
They're the second Wednesday of every month. Join us on April 9th at Doss Beer Hall in Bel Air from 5:30 to 7 p.m. to celebrate spring.
And mark your calendars for May 14th and June 11th. We have amazing experiences planned for summer.
Come as you are and let's grow together.
Hey everyone, it's Rich Bennett. Can you believe it? The show is turning 10 this year. I am so grateful for each and every one of you who've tuned in, shared an episode, or even joined the conversation over the years. You're the reason that this podcast has grown into what it is today. Together, we've shared laughs, tears, and moments that truly matter. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey. Let's make the next 10 years even better.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch first.
It's probably the least sexy part of the organizing. It's okay. No. It's fine. The truth is...
Welcome to Conversations with Rich Bennett. Today, I'm excited to introduce a guest who truly knows how to crush the day before it crushes you. Drewbie Wilson is an entrepreneur, podcast host, and family man with an incredible story of resilience and determination. After losing over 100 pounds through sheer discipline, no fad diets and no gimmicks, Drewbie applied that same drive to his career, generating seven-figure revenues and climbing from tech support to the C-suite of a multi-million-dollar consulting company. He's known for his straight talk, servant leadership, and passion for helping others reach their full potential. So get ready for an inspiring conversation filled with insights from his life, career, and podcasting journey. Drewbie, first of all, welcome to the show. But before we start, I say you and I are a lot alike. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Before you lost that 100 pounds, you were up to 300 pounds, right?
I'm not ashamed to say that I tipped the scale at 315, and I'll never forget looking down at it and going, whew, we got to do something here.
Uh-huh. And how tall are you?
6'1.5". I always claim 6'2", but I'm 6'1.5" if you want to ask the doctor. They won't give me that half an inch. I don't know why, but
I know they never do. So you and I are the same because I'm 6'1". I always sometimes 6'2", depending on what I'm wearing. But I was at that scale, 300 pounds, and at least you could see the numbers on the scale. I couldn't even see my damn toes, you know. But the thing is, and I'm glad you mentioned the diets and all that crap. So I did a diet. You lose a couple pounds because you lose that water weight first, but you put it back on again. I changed my lifestyle. And I think that's the main thing. You got to change your lifestyle. So I started doing, have you ever heard of DDP yoga?
I sure have. I've never done it, but I've heard great things about it.
Oh, it's awesome. I lost 50 pounds doing that. And then I threw out my back going into downward dog. So, so I was out of commission for a while, put the weight back on, and, diabetes runs in the family. So went to the doctor this past July or June. He said my A1C was up. I needed to go on a low-calorie diet. I'm like, what the hell's a low-calorie diet? He said, well, you could get one of those pens, like Ozempic or whatever. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So I just changed my lifestyle, man. And so far, right as of this morning, I'm down to almost 235.
Come on.
Yeah. And it's just changing your lifestyle. I don't think the diets work. So what was it? And I know you probably did the same thing. You changed your lifestyle, right?
So originally when I first had hit that number on the scale, when I broke 300, I was in my early 20s, and I was at a point where I wasn't getting the attention that I was looking for from the people that I was looking to get it from. Right. I knew that I didn't have the energy to do the things that I wanted to be doing in life. And so the first thing I did was very much lifestyle. Was like I cut out all the sugary drinks and I started watching what I eat. And when I say cut out the sugary drinks, like I would easily put down 7 to 8 cans of Coca-Cola in a day. Like Jesus. I wouldn't even think about it. I'd rip through those no problem. And energy drinks and all sorts of things. Ooh. Not to mention candies and, junk food. And I just wasn't very conscious of it. I knew what I was doing was wrong. So when I cut those things out, the weight started coming off. And of course, I had to be more active and really be focused. But truthfully, when you stop putting an extra 3,000 calories a day into your body, it comes off kind of quick. Yeah. So I got down, I don't know, lost 50, 60 pounds and then started into the world of illicit substances and some other things that I was doing at the time to have fun. So I lost a little bit more weight because I wasn't really taking
not the
care
good
of
way.
myself. Well, yeah, not necessarily the best fashion. And it was around that time I ended up meeting a pretty young lady who became my girlfriend. She's now my wife. And we started dating. We were having fun. I got a little bit comfortable. We got married. I started eating more. Then she got pregnant. Thanksgiving dinner 3-4 nights a week for the couple of weeks while she was getting, wow. She was enjoying her and I was getting big. And, I don't know, fellas, pregnancy sympathy weight's a real thing. So I had been over 300, got down to 215, not the right way, but I was down to about 215. Right. Got with her, put back on when my son was born. And shortly thereafter, I looked at the scale. I was back to 285.
Jesus.
And yeah, exactly. I had to have a couple of real hard conversations. One was with my wife at the time. It was like, listen, man, I love you, but I don't love all of you at this moment. And objectively, she had every right to say those things because I wasn't setting the example of what a husband and father should have been doing. So I appreciate her for that. I didn't in the moment necessarily, but I definitely do looking back now. Right. And, further along, I had a mentor that reached out and he's like, listen, man, he's like, you're working hard. You're driving your skill set up. You're making more money. You're putting yourself in a position to really be there as a man. But how would it feel if it was boom, blink? All of a sudden you're up in heaven and you're looking down and there's some other jerk in your bed with your wife raising your kid because you didn't make the time to take care of yourself. And I'm just like, well, bro, it doesn't sound like heaven to me. No. And so that was like the real start of my lifestyle change to where I decided, hey, man, I need to do something that's consistent and I'm going to need to do it forever because I'm one of those guys that's all or nothing. So if I don't do it all the way, I won't do it at all. And so that's really where Crush the Day Before It Crushes You came from. Is I would wake up every morning and I'd look at myself in the mirror and I'd be like, hey, man, you got to crush the day before it crushes you. And that to me was really where, and we can go into all the different parts of it, but that was like the lifestyle change. It was, hey man, if you're going to be there for your wife and you're going to be there for your son, you got to be there for you first.
Now, at this time, you weren't working for yourself, right? You were working for other companies doing sales.
Correct. Yeah. At the time when I started this journey of personal development, let's say I had been selling insurance for a couple of years, and I was relatively successful in my market. Right. One of the top guys, doing pretty good. Certainly wasn't making the amount of money I wanted to make at that point, but compared to being the drug deal and almost dropout, pretty decent living.
Right. And I don't think a lot of people realize with sales, especially insurance sales, because you're sitting down a lot. So it's hard to stay active and put that weight off.
I mean, I was at a computer 7-8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And, there's no, you're not moving, you're not grooving. They didn't have like the walking desk and all the cool stuff they have now. At least it wasn't as popular as it is now back then.
Right.
And so, Nah, man, energy drinks and fast food from the Dollar General down the way, and Smile and Dial, baby.
Those energy drinks will get you, man. I remember the one radio station I was working at, I was doing midnight to 6. And this was before the energy drinks. Our energy drink was Jolt Cola. I don't know if you remember that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Jolt's
I would go through a 6-pack of that a night to stay awake. Because there was maybe 1 or 2 people listening to that. It was a little AM station. Nobody was listening to it. I could have probably just put on Inagata Davida or something and fell asleep. Who knows? But, oh, yeah, man. Oh, God. That people don't understand it. And even now, I mean, with your podcast, how many episodes do you drop a week? Or is it monthly?
So the current podcast for Call the Damn Leads, we do a weekly episode.
Weekly, okay.
But before that, I had a show named Crushing the Day, and I did an episode 5 days a week. And I did that for about 3 years straight.
See, so we're still sitting down a lot.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think we both learned that, especially now that we're not working for somebody else. I take that back. We
all work for somebody, but
we working for the spouses. Let's be honest. But we know to get up and walk around. Keep that activity going. And now you got those desks that can go up and down, which I still got to install mine.
You know what, man? I bought a sit-stand desk, and I never actually used it because in the camper, we're limited on space, so I have to be very careful about how we set everything up and. For travel purposes, when we pick up and move across the states and all that, like things have to be moved down a certain way. And I joked to my wife one time, I was like, I really need to start standing up in this thing more. And I moved it up and then it never went back down. So when I'm working in the camper, everything is a stand up situation. I'm always moving and grooving, but
That's good, though.
It's nice. And what's fun is that as a individual who is my own boss, essentially as an entrepreneur, I can make that choice. I don't have to follow a code that's like, well, you can't just stand up and you can't do this. You have to do this, this, and this. No, like I set the rules, and that's where discipline is so important to it, because there is nobody that tells me to get up every day and to work out. There isn't anybody that says, hey, man, you got to call the damn leads. I mean, I have a spouse. Don't get me wrong. I have a son. I have responsibilities. But that's the thing about this journey that I feel like a lot of people forget, is that having someone to look out for you and tell you what to do is actually, I mean, for most people, a blessing. Because left to their own accord, they're just going to do whatever, whenever, in the moment, and they're not going to make decisions that have delayed gratification, which is where the people who have ever lost the weight and kept it off, they understand that now. That's why they're not shoving their face with the extra cakes. That's why they're not doing all the things, because they realize that even though in the moment it feels good, the regret is always significantly heavier than the choice in the just saying, no, it's okay, I'll pass.
All right, so do you still have any photos of yourself when you put on all that weight?
Oh, 100%. I'll send you
them?
My press kit so that you can see. There's one where like my favorite one is where I have a picture of me and my son. He's 6 months old at the time. We're at my grandfather's house, and like I'm large and in charge. I got 3 chins going on. I got extra arms. And it's like it's crazy. But then I have one from about 5 years later where I had taken off the weight, and you can see the energy is so much different in both of our faces. And so I'll make sure to send one over for you.
Yeah, there's a photo that I have of me standing. I believe it's with my son and my daughter. Maybe my daughter's confirmation, first. I don't know, one of those things. Wherever they wear the white dress, and but yeah, I had so many chins, it was ridiculous, and I kept it. But I mean, at that time, God, I think my pants were a size 46.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I feel like I got to a 46 at one point and was just like, really? Dang.
Yeah, now I put them on, they just fall right off. I
you can fit in one leg of the actual pants.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. So, all right, with sales, because you weren't, I take it out of high school, you didn't go right into sales, did you?
Actually, I've been selling since I was a little guy. I grew up in the street selling dope, selling anything and everything I could get my hands on. So, like, I've been in sales most of my life. I didn't get into the more legitimate side of sales until
the legal side of sales.
Yeah. The legal side. I was probably around my early 20s, 19, 20 years old. I had been a bouncer. So out of high school, I went and I worked third shift at a pharmacy. And so I basically went to this pharmacy real late at night. I drove 4 or 5 hours a day. So I was like, that was part of where I was unhealthy, just got real big because I just ate like crab and just didn't, take care of myself. But the more legitimate side of sales, I decided I'm going to get away from the pharmacy, and I became a bouncer. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to become a bouncer, thinking that bouncers make a lot of money, which they do not. You might make $40 in a night to hang out for like 5-6 hours. I think it was $10 an hour, like grunt labor work. I didn't make a lot of money. So I was looking for extra work, and the guy who owned the clubs also owned a cigar shop. And he was like, well, if you need some extra hours, you can go and work the shop. I was like, cool, I'm in. So I'd work the club at night, and then I'd get up in the morning and I'd go work at the cigar shop, and I'd, basically take care of business on both sides. And that was really where I cut my teeth into more of like the legitimate sales. Right. And I learned inventory. I learned how to connect with customers and get the rapport built, learn what they liked. And to me, I turned it into a game of, all right, Rich, if you come in and you like to smoke a $5 cigar, like you have your preferences right in that $5 to $6 range. To me, it was, how can I get you to buy an $8 cigar?
Right.
How can I get you to spend just an extra buck or two? Shit. Yeah, like, how can I get you to buy just one little bit better? Or how can I get you to buy a whole box of them? And, so I just love that process. And one of the coolest things for me that I think I didn't realize at the time, but I know now was a huge opportunity for me, is I would work every Sunday. And on Sundays, all the local business owners would come in, and they had like a Scotch society where they'd each bring a bottle of Scotch, and they'd each ask me for a couple of cigar suggestions, and I would just sit there and listen to them talk about business and all the things that were going on. And they would always want to pour into me because, when an old guy's smoking a cigar, they just want to tell stories. And I would just sit there and I would listen, and I'd be like, all right, well,
soak it all in, man.
And so that was really where I got into, legitimate sales, which led me from tobacco to furniture, from furniture to insurance, from insurance to marketing, from marketing to consulting, to real estate, to contracting, to all kinds of different stuff that I've sold over the years now.
All right, out of all of them, which one did you like the best?
Honestly, I like what I'm doing right now the best. I am kind of a nerdy guy by nature. I grew up playing video games. I love systems and processes. And so with what I'm doing now at Call the Damn Leads, I help small business owners build out better sales and follow-up systems so that they can sell more of their products and services without being spammy, obnoxious. Like, unfortunately, there's a balance there for sure. And I like to be more of the relationship side than just about making the money.
Which, and nowadays, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have, now keep in mind, like I said, you're younger than me, so I got into sales back, Jesus Christ. Well, all right, I did it before I went in the Marine Corps, so after I got out of the Marine Corps, so mid to late 80s, I got into sales again, but compared to today, it's changed a lot, and I've brought this up many times when I was in originally, when you made that appointment, you were going in for the close as well. Now, it's like you got to build that relationship. What I loved most, when I sold cars, I sold cars for like 10 years. And other salespeople could not figure out how I was selling more cars. Well, what I was doing, you can't wait for the customers to come to you. You have to go to the customers and make them customers. So I would take a demo. I would go to Social Security, whatever. Or what do? You get the list of people that had cars from service. Call the people. Call the damn leads. Those are leads. What is it with people that... I'm sorry.
That's why we exist.
I know, man. This just irks the hell out of me. I don't understand why people get into sales and they are afraid to call leads. They're afraid to call people. They'll email them. They'll send them a message on LinkedIn or whatever, but they're afraid to call. What the hell is wrong with people?
I mean, I deal with this a lot, you know, and because I train and coach a lot of sales professionals and small business owners, there's a couple big things that really stand out to me. Mm-hmm. One, if they're new, it's because they are not confident in what they're about to say. And that comes back to proper scripting, proper training, role playing through these so that people can be prepared when they go out to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't put someone on a stage and ask them to give a speech if they didn't at least know what the heck they were speaking about. Right. And if public speaking is the number one fear of the majority of people, it makes sense why someone who's new to sales would be afraid to stand up and talk to someone that they don't know. Like, that's logical. But it comes back on leadership, preparation. Now, the other side of that, though, is you get the people who have been in sales for a little while. They got through their, like, new nervousness, and they were able to overcome that part of it. And what they did is it got comfortable. Yes. And now the reason that they don't want to call is because they don't want to get rejected. Because who wants to be told no all day? Who wants to be rejected? Nobody. But they have not figured out how to reframe that situation in that every no is putting them closer to a yes. Exactly. Or they were in it and they did really, really well for a while, and now what they used to do isn't working, so they're like, well, I don't know what to say to these people, or, you know, excuse. I've got this thing or that thing that's more important. But at the end of the day, genuine relationships and having these conversations is how you get to the sale. And as you mentioned, there's so many people now that are much happier to hide behind the screen or just to send a message thinking, well, it's volume. I can send more. I can do more. But at the end of the day, it's not always about more. Sometimes people want quality. Sometimes people want actual genuine relationships so that they know if I trust you with this big investment, this purchase, if something doesn't go right, they're going to want someone to talk to. Right. And you can't create that level of trust. You can, but it's a lot harder to do without actually having a genuine conversation on the phone.
Well, have you come across where a lot of businesses don't even train their salespeople?
Yes, all the time.
What the hell?
Well, here's the hardest part about it, Rich, and you'll probably recognize this in the sense that as a business owner, someone who has been doing this for 10 years, you know how to do this. You operate on assumed knowledge.
Right.
But when you first started podcasting, for example, now that you've been doing podcasts for, you know, years and years, however long, you know exactly what the steps are. You open up the thing, you hit record, you have your rapport, your questions, like you know the process. But if you were just to hire someone on and say, hey, I need you to go and take over the podcast, do you have it all written down? Do you have an exact step-by-step microwave directions for them to do this thing? No.
I actually do, but I know there are a lot of people. No, I know there are a lot of people that don't. And the only reason, and I'll be honest with you, the only reason I do is because I mentor other podcasters because I've been doing this for 10 years.
But that means you know how to train people. That's the difference is most business owners haven't been training people for 10 years. Most business owners have been building their business. No one taught them how to be a sales trainer. And so they just assume that you know all the pieces that are important about the process. But a lot of times you have to have someone smart who's done this come in and like untangle the box of wires that you've created that you think is your sales and follow-up process, because it's different every single time. And also you do have a specific set of things that you do every single time, which is why it allows you to get to the result so consistently. Yeah. Hopefully I explained that well.
No, you did. You did. And it's always been frustrating to me. When I sold cars, you know, you always had to learn your product, but we always had sales training.
Well, and I would challenge that it's important to know your product, and also it's important to know the person.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this is where a lot of, I think, professionals are missing the mark, is they're product experts, but they're not people experts.
Yes.
And let's use auto as a great example. Let's say someone, decides that they're going to come into the dealership. This lady walks in and young man walks up super excited, and he's like, I am so pumped to tell you about this new Ford Mustang. Look at this thing. It's got the T-tops. It's got the blah, 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 blah. And the lady's like, I'm here to buy a minivan.
Yeah.
I don't care about this Mustang. I can't put my kids in a Mustang. Maybe someday future me would love to have that car, but right now that's not what I'm here for. But if the only thing you know about is product instead of people, you're never going to get to the point where she's going to actually be willing to tell you that. She's just going to be like, who is this freaking guy trying to sell me this thing that I don't care about? Because the only thing he cares about is himself.
Right. And that's where that's why the education never stops. That's why people have to listen to your podcast.
Well, I appreciate it.
Because you're educating them, man.
Man, and to me, the best education in sales is repetition.
Yeah.
And role play. And that's why I said earlier, the role play side of this is so important, because even though it seems very cheesy and seems kind of like redundant, what I've learned in years and years of role play is that typically it's the best because the people who are doing it are trying so hard to make it hard.
Yeah.
They are actively putting additional resistance in places that doesn't normally show up. And what's great about that is it does keep you on your feet. It makes you have to get better so that when you're in the mix of it, you're ready. You're not having to pause and go, hold on, let me get my black book of objection handling so that I can pull up the response.
Well, let me go talk to
hold
my
on,
manager.
ma'am. You get my pocketbook of... would you agree that if you do not move forward, this is going to be... No, man, you need to just be fluent. You need to have a casual conversation. You need to know where someone's going before they even get there. And that is what makes a great sales professional. Someone who can do the dance and lead, making the person feel as though they're the one leading the dance.
That's true. And the thing is nowadays, when you're doing sales for another business, it's funny how everything changes, because you need to sell that. You need to make that sale, because otherwise the owner, the boss, they're all going to be upset with you. When you have your own business, then you realize, depending on what you're selling, that might not be the right customer for you. Weren't you in the IT field for a while?
I did work in IT for a little while, and I actually love this conversation that not all people with a credit card and a pulse are good clients.
Right.
I use something called pre-qualifying questions. Mm-hmm. So I've written a couple of books. I have Call the Damn Leads. I have a few trainings on this, but I use something called the calls framework. And in there, I'm asking very specific pre-qualifying questions because I need to know, is my product or service a good fit for you? And are you a good fit for my product or service?
Bingo. Yes. Yes.
It's something that I feel like a lot of people miss in the sales process.
Yep.
And or they know it, but they skip certain key questions thinking they're making assumptions about the person. And I can't tell you how many times I've personally gone through this process and gotten to the end of a conversation and made someone an offer thinking this is a slam dunk. Right. This is in the bag. And then all of a sudden they come out of left field. Well, I don't think that's exactly what I was trying to do. And I'm like, wait, what? Hold on a second. Where did I miss? But it was that one key question that I didn't ask that would have flipped that switch earlier on in the conversation to make them thinking about, well, hey, yeah, that's close, but it's not exactly it. We've all smelled something that's close, but it's not exactly what I think I'm smelling. That's not the one that it was. And I think that happens so often. Those pre-qualifying questions make the difference so that we can decide very quickly, am I a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for me? If so, yes. If not, who do I know that I can send you to?
Right. Well, you help businesses that also do B2B sales, right? Business to business sales.
We do B2B, B2C. I mean, we've done pretty much all of it.
Okay. And a lot of people don't realize, I'm going to say a lot of salespeople don't realize there's a big difference between B2C and B2B. with B2B, and correct me if I'm wrong, but with B2B, you have to research that other business. When it comes to B2C, you're not research. Like with furniture sales, you weren't researching the customer before they came in. But with B2B, you got to research that other business because it may not be a good fit for you.
You know what? I love this conversation, and I don't think I've ever explored it at the level that just came to me from this download from God. So I'm going to appreciate you for bringing this out, Rich, because here's the way that this works. Business to consumer, you're doing your research in real time. So that's where the pre-qualification questions are so important, because now you're researching this person in real time as you're having the conversation. Versus in a B2B situation, you've already done your research to an extent, and now you're trying to figure out where they are in the customer journey and which of the 2 or 3 main pain points they're specifically suffering for their industry. Because all of those, anyone who's in, let's just say roofing, for example, has a couple of main specific things that they run into. One, leads. They all need more leads. So if you have a marketing company and you don't suck, you can probably get, an opportunity to work with them. They all need admin management because they run around like crazy and they're all great on the roofs and whatever, but someone has to handle the paperwork.
Right.
And then they need people in the field. So recruiting, if you can help bring people in who are willing to be, 1099 or door knocking commission salespeople, then, hey, you're providing a service that they're absolutely going to need. So now
just
the question is, well, but then the question is, which one of these things are they suffering from? And if none, then we know they're not a good fit, one half dozen or the other.
You're listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. We'll be right back. I've been talking about them for years, and I will keep talking about them. It's a company that I trust for my home exterior needs. Tar Heel Construction Group. When it came time to replace my roof, I didn't hesitate. I called Joe Ayler at Tar Heel Construction Group. They were professional, timely, and most importantly, they did an incredible job. The new roof looks amazing, and I know it'll last for years to come. Their quality and attention to detail are unmatched. But here's the thing. I'm not stopping there. I'm already planning to use them again for my siding and gutters. Why? Because I trust them. Tar Heel Construction Group has earned my loyalty by delivering exactly what they promised. High quality work, excellent communication, and a commitment to customer satisfaction. If you're thinking about tackling any exterior home improvement project, whether it's roofing, siding, or gutters, or even solar, give Tar Heel Construction Group a call. I've used them, and I'll keep recommending them and use them again in the future. Check them out at tarheelconstructiongroup.com or call them today at 410-638-7021. That always, I'm glad you brought that up with the roofers, because that's something, well, we get them coming around the neighborhood all the time, and you know that they're 1099s, independent contractors or whatever. They're not, and they're not being taught because, and here's why. I'll have somebody, it's happened to me several times. They're like, yeah, we're just, our company's in the neighborhood doing roofs, and we're looking at your roof and see that, you could probably use some repairs and using, they're going on and on. They're doing their spiel.
Yep.
I just had my roof replaced. It's like, seriously? Come on now. Oh, yeah. They don't know what to look for. They're not, some of them aren't being taught what to look for. And that's a sad thing.
Well, and that's where I said assumed knowledge. Owners will look, they'll just assume that if you come to work for them, you know what to look for. Like, hey, man, well, here's the thing. Here's 3 key things that we look for on the roof to know whether or not it's even worth the conversation. Can you see certain color, spots? Can you see X, Y, Z? Like, I'm not a roofer, but man, if you put me in the field, I could probably look at a roof and be like, that's a new roof, or it's questionable. Let's just see. Hey, man, we're in the neighborhood anyways. Just wanted to know, when was the last time you had your roof replaced?
Yep.
Last year.
A lot of them don't say that.
All right. Well, have you noticed any spots that were leaking or any issues with it in the last year? Because, that's typically, if you're going to see something, right away, that would be a good time. Otherwise, if you haven't, then you're probably all set for a while. I don't want to waste your time, but if you want me to go look, I'll happily take a look if you've noticed anything.
All right. So what's your take on, and I've had this happen too, the salesperson that will badmouth another, I don't even want to say, I don't like that term competitor, but another business.
I think the us versus them strategy can work, but I don't want to do it in a way that's like negative. I'm not trying to downplay someone else. Like, I don't want to talk crap about someone or talk about how they screw people over or do any of that, because like, if you spot it, you got it. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. I don't remember who said that to me one time. It was like, if you spot it, you got it. And so like, if you're actively out there saying all these negative things about what other people are doing, it's probably because you're doing it and you're trying to deflect it from people realizing you're the one doing those things.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily like that side of it, but I definitely think there's a good category for us versus them, in the sense of, hey, here are all the things that we offer that they do not. And as long as that's a truthful thing, then I don't see any issue with it, because that's a benefits type thing. Well, hey, yeah, you could work with XYZ company, and from what I know, they have great ratings, and the people that work with them that are happy, but I also know that they don't offer this, this, and this, which is why we find people enjoy working with us versus them. Not that, they're a bad company, it's just that there's certain parts about what we do that people appreciate more so they choose to work with us.
And that's where that research of that other company comes in handy. I mean, you have to.
You got to know your client. You got to know your quote competition. But I think it's more a matter of being a subject matter expert for your own business. And if you're going to be an expert in your business, you should probably know other people who do things similar to you, so you can compare and contrast.
With getting leads, where do you think a lot of businesses or even individuals are missing the boat on how to get leads?
This is a loaded question, Rich. So I
Sorry.
look at, no, you're good. I look at it. There's really three main categories for lead generation.
Mm-hmm.
You have organic lead generation, which is you, word of mouth, posting on social media, putting your billboard on your truck, like putting a sign on your truck or in front of your house or anywhere that it doesn't cost you, money to be seen. Then you have paid marketing, which is pretty obvious. Billboard, TV, radio, Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever. That is a whole category in and of itself that you can explore. And then the one that I truly think a lot of people miss out on is referrals.
Yes.
I think people are really bad about asking for referrals, which is such an interesting thing to me, because if you're working so hard to get someone to know you, like you, trust you enough to give you their money, what makes you afraid to ask them if they know anyone else who might also be interested in getting that same service done?
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. They're like, well, I don't want to be spammy or obnoxious. It's like, what do you mean? You just blew this person up for 4 months to get their business, and now you don't want to fucking follow up with them? Like, come on. So I'm going to give you guys a little something. This is the game that I use, and I've been giving this to all my consulting clients. It's worked really well for us. So there's two ways you can use this. One, if someone is having a conversation with you and they do give you a compliment of any sort, hey, I really appreciate the way you did that, this, that, what, however they approach it, say, I greatly appreciate you for that compliment. And I'll remind you that the greatest compliment we can ever receive would be a referral to someone who might also be interested in solving this problem.
I like that.
And I use that, right? Like, anytime someone's giving a compliment, you can lean on that, because they're not going to be mad about you saying that. They're going to, it's like a feedback sandwich. Like, I'm so grateful for that. Thank you. That's awesome. And also this. And thank you again for telling me how much you appreciate that. That's why we want to know who else we can help. Let's carry on. So I use that in either then or even when I call a lead and they tell me they're not interested. Hey, man, I totally appreciate that, and I will make a note in the system that we're not a good fit for you at this time. If that ever changes, please let me know. And as a reminder, a referral is the greatest compliment we could receive. So even if not you, Do you know anyone who might need this done that you'd be interested in sending them our way?
And what's your take on referral fees?
Well, A, is it legal? Because when it was in insurance, there was like certain things that we could or couldn't do.
Exactly.
And B, if you're... I don't like trying to start off with, hey, I give money for referrals, because that feels very transactional instead of relationship based.
Right.
If someone is sending me a lot of referrals, then 100% I'm going to try to do something nice for them in exchange. But when you start adding in that, hey, I'll give you $5 gift card for a referral, or then it's transactional. And it's not about like, hey, they did a good job. It's, hey, this person's going to give me money, and I don't care really one way or the other if you sign up with them, but I'm going to get $10.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because I remember in car sales, that's one of the things I think it was like $25, $50 is what you always gave to somebody for a referral.
Sure.
But now with what I do, I don't, people send me referrals all the time, but I'll just do something in return for them out of the blue. I ain't going to, sometimes I'll tell them, I'll say, look, man, I want to do this for you. But otherwise, it's like, no, I don't really push it.
Where it also gets a little bit tricky, and like this is a really big one from my last position I was in, is, let's say we have a big pool of people and we all kind of hang out in the same community. Well, if someone joins my program, and then I got 4 or 5 people that come up and I was like, oh, yeah, I told him he should join. Like, that was my referral. And then it's like, well, Janie also came in and was like, yeah, I talked to John too. And he totally said he was going to sign up after talking to me. So, like, that would be my referral. Now you've got people that are all trying to take credit for talking to the same guy because he was asking questions to everybody in the community. Like, but now they all want credit for closing the deal. And it's like, well, I can't give 6 people referral credit for one guy. And so then it starts to get in like, how do you track it? And, and then again, it just becomes transactional instead of relationship based.
And some people may be offended by it.
They could be, for sure.
One of the things I love to do is say, hey, man, I really appreciate it. Why don't we go out for lunch, have a cup of coffee or something, and buy them lunch?
Yep.
The
best thing you can do for people that give you referrals, send them referrals. That is the great, that's the thing that most people forget is like, send someone a referral. You want to do a good thing, like send them a referral. You don't have to do like, it's just the craziest thing. If you send referrals, you get referrals, and that is the secret.
Yeah. I mean, I send people referrals all the time, but I don't expect anything in return. If you want to send somebody my way, send them my way. I'll be happy. I'll talk to them. And if I find out they're not a good fit, I'll send them to somebody that I believe they would be a good fit for.
Bingo.
All right. So with God, I love talking about sales, man. With sales, and a lot of people that are in sales, especially when it comes to the news, they lose that motivation. What can people do to stay motivated and keep going and not give up?
I'm going to shamelessly plug this, though. It's called Diary of a Damn Closer. I wrote this book in October of 2024, and essentially this is a culmination. I've spent probably $250,000 on mentors and coaching and training and psychology and all sorts of different things to learn that this quote is the most popular for me in my life. Methods are many, principles are few. Methods may vary, but principles never do. And what I mean by that is there's a million ways to make $1 million. But anyone who's ever made $1 million will tell you there was a few core principle things they had to do day in and day out to achieve.
Right.
And to me, when it comes to motivation, it's a daily habit. You can't just get motivated and have motivation forever. It's a consistent effort. And so for me, the Diary of a Damn Closer is just that. It breaks down into how to figure out what is your real core motivator. And to me, it's what's your time worth?
Yeah.
Because we all know how to make more money, but we can't get more time, energy, and effort. Those are the only things we can't buy more of, can't win in a poker tournament, and no one gets a box of Christmas morning. So first of all, what's your time worth and where are you spending it? Why? And is it getting you the result that you're looking for? Because if not, there's one asset that you have that you're not using correctly. So the diary helps you break that down. And then I live by something called the 4 6s, which is the 4 areas of life that really matter. Sleep, number 1.
Yes.
Because if you've ever been on a bender or done illicit things that you shouldn't have after about 24 hours, you're pretty much useless. And I'm at an age now where I need my beauty rest, Rich. I don't know about you, but I need my beauty rest. So sleep is at the top. Then we have our family, our relationships, you know, the people and things in our life that matter. And then we have our business, because like I don't have FU money yet, but I'm working towards it. And most people need to show up because they know money is a tool and a resource that they can use to buy and do all the things in life that matter.
Especially when you have kids.
Especially when you have kids. And then the last category is ourselves, which is the one that's kind of interesting because a lot of times when I meet entrepreneurs or professionals, they're burnout, unhappy, out of shape. They're not living the life that they want to live because they're putting themselves at the bottom of the list. But when you get on an airplane, they tell you you have to put your own oxygen mask on first or you're a burden to everyone else. So when you flip this around and you start realizing there's 24 hours in a day and 4 areas of life that matter, that means if you spent 6 in each of those areas, you'd have what's called a balanced life. And in theory, if you've ever done anything for like an hour straight or 6 hours straight that you really enjoyed, you can get a lot of stuff done.
Oh, yeah.
So from a motivational standpoint, I put this together so that you could figure that out and then actually track what you got going on every day. What are you grateful for today? Where did you win today? What are the things that actually accomplished that went well? What didn't go well that you would improve on tomorrow? That's the daily reminder and the motivational tool. But then from a sales perspective, it's, did you do the work? Did you make 100 calls? Did you talk to 10 people? Did you close 2 deals? Because if you're putting in the work, you're going to get the result. And to me,
this is your latest book?
This is the latest book of 5. This is my 5th release in all the books. This is the most powerful, though, I think, because it takes all of the strategies and ideas in the other books and it puts them in a daily tool that you implement every day. This thing's 8 by 10. It's 476 pages. If you do this every day for 6 months, call me and tell me your life isn't better. I promise you it will be.
Now, where do people get that? The book?
They can order it on callthedamnleads.com or they can order it from Amazon. Now, if you order it from the store, I personally hand sign them and I send a special gift with every order. But some people don't want to wait, so they go right to Amazon.
Go to the website, people, not to Amazon. Believe me, you're going to like. I think I know what the special gift is, and I think you'll really like it.
It's a good stuff.
Maybe I do. Well, your website at what you just told everybody, called thedamnleads.com. You got a lot of awesome stuff on there.
Thank you,
lot.
sir.
The shirts, the website's awesome. The blogs, the motivation, and something. I want to add something to something you said about every day. Say something that you're grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
Which I do that when I get out of bed. First thing I do is I have an angel on my nightstand, which unfortunately we lost our first daughter, and she helped. I was able to put that in her hand, so I say a prayer every day. And then I got a little rock that my present daughter got me when she was little. I call it my grateful rock. So I'll say something that I'm grateful for every day. However, somebody told me to add something. People have no problem saying what they're grateful for, but add in there why you're grateful for it. And I don't think a lot of people do that.
No, it's definitely, I learned this from another mentor. He was, hey, write down every day, first thing when you wake up, write down the couple things you're grateful for. And I've definitely met a lot of people along the way that will take it that extra, like, why? And, for me, I've been doing this now every day for 5 years, I think, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it just become a natural thing. Where I start rolling over and I before I even get out of bed, I'm just like, all right, I'm grateful that my wife is over here next to me and I squeeze her booty. And then I'm like, all right, I'm super grateful that my son's over in the other room. You're laughing, but, Rich, in 2019, on Christmas Eve, my wife handed me her wedding ring back and said that you're married to the job, not your family. So, like, When it
That's
comes to
an
things to be
eye-opener.
grateful for, man, I am 100% grateful that juicy booty's right there next to me still, because I made a lot of selfish choices that almost cost my family. So, gratitude's a big deal, man. Very big deal.
You're not married to an Irish redhead, though, are you?
No, she's a spicy white lady that grew up on the east side, so she thinks she's a little bit Latin.
Okay.
I don't know. I love her to death, though.
Okay. Yeah, I do that. My wife reaches over and smacks me, and then puts her cold ass feet on me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I wouldn't change it. The funny thing is, I got scared shitless a couple weeks ago because, and I've been married. God, we're coming up to 29 years. 29
Beautiful.
years. And I'm sitting there like you and I are now, talking on a podcast. I was going like this, turning on my wedding ring. And, when you lose all that weight, that wedding ring becomes loose. And I looked down, I was like, oh, shit, I lost it. Where am I? And I thought it fell in my lap. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Oh, no.
Anywhere. Nah. Yeah. And when my wife got home, I told her, I said, I cannot find my wedding ring. Why'd you take it off? I didn't take it off on purpose. But in all honesty, Drewbie, I was nervous because I didn't know how she was going to react. Well, lo and behold, yesterday we had all the snow, so it's like, okay, let me go out and shovel the driveway, clear off her car before she leaves for work.
That's a good man right there.
And I grabbed these gloves that I very rarely wear, and the wedding ring was in there. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
So, and we go to bed last night. She's like, how come you don't have your wedding ring on? I said, because it keeps sliding off. I'm waiting to get the ring guards. I said, I got it in a safe place. She goes, where? And I picked up my angel. I said, I got it around Maggie's head.
There you go.
So it ain't going anywhere. I go to put the angel down. The thing fell off behind the nightstand.
God's he's just trying to give you a little reminder there, bub. I don't know, Rich. You might want to listen. Put that in a safety deposit box, lock and key. Like, don't mess that one up.
Oh yeah, it's like, but you feel naked without it.
Yeah.
It's well, it's not weird. It's part of you. When you get married, it is part of you.
One of the hardest things for me was when I was, and I still go to the gym, but I say there was a season where I was really heavy into the lifting and the weights.
Right.
And I had to take off my regular ring and put on a rubber ring because I did have concerns. Like, I didn't want to glove myself, because I was lifting heavy weights. And there were so many times where I would take the main, my white platinum gold ring off, white gold, whatever it is. And then I would be looking around and I'd feel so naked. And I'd be like, I don't know. I don't like it. It felt weird. I didn't appreciate, I'm at the gym with this other wedding ring on, and all of a sudden in my own head, I'm like, my wife's at home thinking that I got this thing taken off, that I'm out here flirting at the gym.
No.
So I just leave it on, and, God forbid if I ever lose a finger, knock on wood, I don't, I don't want to jinx myself, but it'd be like
That's
that.
when it goes on the necklace around your neck, man. Actually, with you, talking about being grateful and all that, what is your daily routine from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed?
All right, so I'm very intentional about this, you guys. So this is gonna mess some of you guys up, but my alarm goes off at 4 a.m. every day, and I will tell you that a lot of times I'm usually up by 3:30. I usually beat my alarm. So by 4 o'clock, my alarm goes off. Between 4 and 4:30, I read, I drink water, I meditate, and then I'm out the door by 4:30 on my way to the gym. So I'm at the gym by 5 o'clock. And again, if I wake up earlier, it's just a half an hour earlier on this whole schedule.
Right.
But I'm at the gym by 5. I have typically a 90-minute workout routine that I do. I spend 15 minutes doing warm-ups and stretches. I have a 60-minute routine, and then I do a 15-minute hydro massage before I get out of there. I get home. I have a certain meditation that I do. I help my wife get the breakfast and everything going with the family so that from 7 to about 8 o'clock, that's family time. So that's me and the family having our morning breakfast, getting everything ready. I get cleaned up so I don't smell like a dirty old sock the whole day. I have my breakfast, and then by 8 o'clock, I'm working. I have a daily team stand-up with my team every day at 8 o'clock, so we have a quick 20-minute meeting. From 8 to 11, I do administrative work. I work in the CRM. I follow up with leads. I, do anything that I can do with my headphones on that don't require me to talk to another human.
Right.
So that from 11 to 12, either I'm doing a show like this or I have a lunch or something scheduled. And then from 12 to 4 every day is calls. I'm very structured. That's my call time. Anytime I have anyone who wants to get on sales calls, hey, let's get you on the calendar. Between 12 and 4 is when I make my calls. Between 4 and 4:30, I close out. I make sure all my appointments and all my notes are in for the day so that I can walk out the door for home by 4:30. Because at 5 o'clock I'm home and I'm with the family time. So from 5 to about 8 o'clock is usually family time again. And then from 8 to 10 is kind of my personal time, me and my wife's time. And I'm asleep by 10 o'clock because 4 o'clock comes early every single day. And if you paid attention there, and you looked at how I broke it up, the 4/6s is in full effect because I spend about 3 hours on me first thing in the morning. Then I have a couple hours with the family. Then I have my business through the middle of the day. Then a couple hours with family, and then a couple hours for me. And then I reset the clock and I start over. But it all starts with me first. I get up and I get that workout done because if I didn't, I wouldn't do it. So I have to get it done first thing.
Well, it makes you feel good too.
There's some scientific aspect to that, the adrenaline, the dopamine, the serotonin, all the good things that go with a good workout. Absolutely.
I think a lot of times it does yourself better if you can work out in the morning, do it in the morning instead of at night. Because I just think it helps generate you throughout the day. You feel good, you accomplish something, then you can go to work, sit there, and you can call them leads, do your podcast, whatever it is you're doing, work with your team. Take that family time, and family time is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And time for yourself as well. Where the meditation is. I'm telling you, man, I think we're brothers somehow because your routine our routines are a lot similar.
Hey, Rich, remember when I said methods are many, principles are few? There's a lot of different ways to do it, but the principles of how to be successful and how to create a life that makes you feel successful, I think we both found a couple of them, brother.
Yeah. You got to get a lot of this stuff put on shirts, or do you already?
I have quite a few on shirts, and I've got some that I'm working on. I can't take credit for all these quotes. So, I don't want to put something out that's not, authentically mine. I want to give credit where it's due. But I definitely think there's some new shirts coming.
Well, yeah. I mean, cause I've been looking at that too. And it's because there's a lot of, from your podcast and a lot of your guests have awesome quotes. If you put it on a shirt, put their name underneath of it.
There you go.
That they said the quote. And hey, that's marketing for them as well. You can't beat that.
I mean, that's a good podcast right there is marketing for everybody. So
yeah. So what made you decide to start the podcast and how long ago did you start it?
I started
the one now called the Damn Leads.
The Call the Damn Leads podcast. So when I launched Call the Damn Leads in December of 2023, to officially said, hey, I'm walking away from a very high-paying salary corporate job to start my own business. I knew that doing anything 2 weeks before Christmas was a terrible idea to start a business. So essentially, when I left the corporate career on December 10th of 2023. And I knew from the 10th to the 31st, from the 10th to the 26th, essentially was you can't lock in and do anything there. That's Christmas time.
Right.
So I locked myself in the lab, in the office. I wrote the Call the Damn Leads book. I put together 26 episodes of the podcast so that I would come out of the gates with plenty of content batched and ready to go. And that was really why I started it, because I knew that podcasting is an amazing way to get out and share more stories with people, and the story is what sells, not the facts. I could sit here and spit facts at you guys all day, but sharing fun stories and having a good time builds relationships. Mm-hmm. And also, I knew that in creating a podcast, it would give me an opportunity to meet amazing people like yourself, Rich. And even if you and I never did business together, the fact that we had a great relationship and an awesome conversation like we did today means that someone in your community who likes you, knows you, and trusts you might just so chance hear this and think, I'd like to get better at sales, and reach out and have a conversation with me. Because if we help enough people get what they want, eventually we get what we want. That's a Zig Ziglar quote. Full credit to him on that one.
Love Zig Ziglar.
But that was really the idea of the podcast, is how can I get out, create something that creates entertainment and then also has an edge of education, because if you get those two things just right, a lot of people will trust you and they'll want to know how you can help them more.
That's good marketing. Awesome
Can be.
marketing. It's one of the things I learned the hard way. I mean, when I started this thing, coming from radio, playing music, it's a big difference going to podcasts and talking to people. When I was in radio, I hated talking to people. I didn't want to talk to anybody. Let me play the music, you know? But doing this now, man, I love it. And you're right. This is what we're doing here. To me, this is the networking of the day. You know, I don't know if you go to networking groups or anything like that. You do?
I do it all. I'm a sales guy, man. Rich, hold on now. I ain't too good to do nothing. But you know what? It is a one-to-one versus a one-to-many. And that's what podcasting is awesome about, is that we can have this one conversation one time. We're almost an hour in at this point, but this lives indefinitely. So we could potentially reach, heck, man, we could go viral and hit 10 million people. All it takes is just one person to share this out in the right place, and it goes crazy. So it's a one-to-many type conversation, but I'm not going to tell you that a one-to-one isn't still a good opportunity. And going to the networking events and creating these, this is the digital coffee shop right here. You and me hanging out, I love that. Making just good conversation and knowing that, hey, at the end of this, you and me, we built a relationship. And if any point going forward, we meet someone who may need the other service, we're going to be excited to tell them about it.
Yeah. And actually, while we're at it, tell everybody how to get in touch with you so you can train them.
I appreciate that, Rich. First and foremost, I want them to share this episode on social media and tag at Call the Damn Leads, because that's going to do two things. A, it's going to let me and Rich know that you enjoyed today's time that you invested with us and that you got something from it, because if you're willing to tell other people about it, it must have made an impact. So share it, tag me at Call the Damn Leads. Once you're done, head over to callthedamnleads.com. Check out the store. We've got swag. I've got books. I've got podcasts. I've got blog content. I've got enough stuff on there that you could probably never have to hire me ever if you just went through it all and figured it out on your own. But if you want to speed it up, I have a coaching group. I have a program where I work with professionals to get dialed in, to sell more without being spammy or obnoxious. And I'd love to have a conversation, but it all starts over on callthedamnleads.com.
And get the books, man. Definitely get the books. Notice I said books, not books. And after you purchase the books from his website, feel free to go to Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes & Noble to leave a full review of why you liked it. And then keep in mind, people, his books are something that you want to hold on to. Don't pass them on to somebody else. Buy them for somebody else.
Come on.
Those of you that own a business, buy them for your sales team. You want to educate them? This is the way to do it. So before I get to my last question, is there anything you would like to add?
I appreciate that. I think the most important thing that I always try to add on these kinds of conversations is you have to trust the process. Whether it's losing weight, building a business, creating better relationships, you have to trust the process. And if you give up too soon, you'll never know what you're truly capable of. So lock in, do the damn thing, and you'll be good to go.
All right, so my last question for you. How do you plan to crush tomorrow before it crushes you?
Tomorrow's already lined out on the calendar, sir. All I got to do is make it through today and wake up, and then tomorrow will already be laid out and ready to go for me.
I'm sorry. It's already on what? A calendar? You use a calendar?
That's my boss, sir. The ultimate boss.
I think a lot of people don't understand that some of the things from way back when are still good to use today. And my calendar, I love it. The
basics wins wars, Rich. You know this as much as I do. When you're in the military, they don't train you on all the fancy stuff every day. They train you how to take your gun out of your holster and point it towards the enemy. That is what you focus on. Out of the holster, in the right direction first. That's what matters.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and we always got the left. Never mind, that's another story. Drewbie, thanks a lot, brother. It's been a pleasure, man.
Pleasure's all mine, Rich. I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind, and keep the conversations going.